Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to episode 32 of the Alec Walt Show. I'm your host, Alec Walt, alongside another very special guest, and today we're going to talk about the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls have been very active this offseason, just made a massive sign and trade with the San Antonio Spurs. Joining me to discuss all their moves this offseason and more is Andy Hopper, the host of the Brew Party Podcast. Andy, what's going on, brother? I appreciate you joining me.
Alec, dude, thank you so much for having me. I am way more excited than I was like 10 seconds ago before we started this, when it's official. DeMar DeRozan is here. Wow.
Yeah.
You add that to the Lonzo Ball and the Alex Caruso signing, which I didn't really love that part of it, but I'm excited. The Bulls are back, baby. That's all. That's how I have to say to start this.
So let's start with the breaking news. The San Antonio Spurs, according to Shams, is finalizing a deal sending DeRozan to the Bulls for Thad Young and a future first-round pick, 2 second-round picks as well. DeRozan will be also getting a 3-year, $85 million plus deal to join the Bulls. My first question to you is, where's Markkanen?
I don't know. This is funny because I'm actually wearing a Markkanen jersey right now, and I was fully expecting him to be a part of this sign and trade deal. Those are the reports. I was watching ESPN yesterday. Brian Windhorst was reporting that Markkanen would be the key piece for the Bulls in this deal, and one that I would have thought would have kept the Bulls in the conversation with San Antonio. We heard Miami was on the trail for DeMar DeRozan, and then Chicago kind of emerged. And you get in there and you have to give up Thad Young and what was it, 2 first-round picks?
1 first, 2 seconds.
I am all over that. I mean, Thad Young was absolutely terrific last year. I think he gave the Bulls a lot of great minutes. But if you're able to give up a guy that's on the wrong side of 30 and keep a guy around like Markkanen with this core that you're putting together, I'm over the moon. They are proving that they want to compete. They are proving that this is a team no longer ran by Gar Forman and John Paxson. That is bottom line there.
So we talked about everything the Bulls have been doing lately has been to keep Zach LaVine happy. They traded for Nikola Vucevic at the deadline over last year. You've signed DeRozan. Just talk about, so you've already seen 2 of them play together. Now you've added these 2 to the offense. Just talk about how much better DeRozan, one of the best scoring guards in this league, takes this offense pretty much to another level.
Listen, so now if we're projecting starting lineups already for next year, you have Lonzo, LaVine, DeMar. You throw you could even throw Pat Williams in there. And throw Vooch at the 5. But I mean, DeMar DeRozan scored 21 points, and his versatility, you can play him at the 2, you can play him at the 3. LaVine can be your primary ball handler, but you also have Lonzo Ball there, who's going to be put back into a role where he can run an offense. Remember last year, kind of in the middle of the year in New Orleans, they gave Zion the keys to play point forward and put Lonzo on the wing. So I think that's something people need to remember is Lonzo is one of the best players in transition. He's lethal. He can get to the basket. He can dish the ball out. And we really saw his assist numbers last year drop because of that. But speaking on DeMar DeRozan, I think he just adds another scoring threat to this offense. We saw what Zach LaVine did last year, multiple 50-point games. And you add another threat on the wing like DeMar. I just add so many facets to this offense. And we haven't even brought up Nikola Vucevic yet, who is one of the best pick and pop centers, if not the best in the league right now. So lethal offense. Plus they pick up a guy like Alex Caruso who can come off the bench and just be a bulldog on defense. And I mean, Lonzo's no slouch defensively as well.
So how does Lonzo fit in a backcourt with LaVine?
See, I think it's interesting because, LaVine can be the primary ball handler, but you're taking so much pressure off of Lonzo because he's not going, like when the Lakers drafted Lonzo, they were expecting him to be a superstar, right? Do it all superstar. Here, he can be the big guard that you can put who can guard pretty much anybody on the floor. He can distribute and run the offense, worry about facilitating, rebounding the basketball, playing hard defense, and you can kick it out to him for a 3 or 2 when LaVine is double teamed. He did up his 3-point percentage to 37% last year playing in New Orleans in more of a wing role. So I think he fits really well. The Bulls' identity, it looks like they're going for, at least with their first 2 moves with Caruso and Lonzo Ball, is they want defensive guards, and then let's leave the scoring to LaVine, DeRozan, and Vooch.
Just a quick update from Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN. Al-Farouq Aminu is also in the deal that is going to San Antonio, so he will also be included in the sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan. I think you and I can both agree DeRozan is absolutely worth the 3 years, $85 million. I was surprised to see Lonzo got 85 after having that up and down season last year. In your opinion, do you believe Lonzo Ball is worth the 4 years and $85 million?
Yes. I saw somebody on Twitter say he's overpaid, but I mean, that's NBA free agency. Like everybody
that's also
is
Twitter.
There's also Twitter. So it's kind of insurance. If LaVine doesn't work out, you still have a pretty quality guard there who's young. Lonzo Ball is only 23 years old. He has a lot of good basketball ahead of him. So yeah, I don't mind it. But I mean, I don't mind it at all.
All right, well, if I were you, I wouldn't be worried at all about LaVine now not signing an extension. I think the Bulls have done a fantastic job getting him the pieces he needs to build a potential contender in Chicago.
Absolutely. I think when he gets back from these Tokyo Olympics, he is going to be, I'm sure he already knows, he has social media and that, but like when he gets back into the Bulls building, I feel like he will be very pleased with the team they are putting around him. A guy that we haven't mentioned yet, another guard, Ayo Dosunmu, the rookie that fell to them in the second round. I'm going to be interested to see how much tick or how he'll kind of fit into this as well. But down the road, he's a 6'5" lanky guard that can score, distribute, and rebound as well. So I don't know. I feel like this team, they're building to be competitive right now, but also in the future, which is nice. But this DeRozan move, it just changes. I don't want to say everything, but it just brings a whole new facet to this offense. Somebody else you have to be worried about. And if we're keeping Laurie around, you can throw him in there at the 4. He another pick and pop guy. So I think it's going to be very interesting for Billy Donovan's team this year.
Yeah, listen, when you watch the Bulls last year, a ton of playmaking responsibility was on LaVine, as well as the scoring pressure. Now he has a playmaker in Lonzo Ball and a scorer in DeMar DeRozan, another element of that starting lineup who can create his own shot. We didn't really talk that much about Vucevic yet. She was added at the trade deadline. People almost forget he's on the team with how good your starting lineup is right now. How did he fit in with LaVine for the half or so season he was on the Bulls last year?
It kind of was an adjustment period. It took a little bit for him to flow, and I don't know if that was necessarily on him or the rest of the team, but I think after having this last half a season, now a full summer, I think he'll be good to go at the start of the year. I think it was a little bit of a slow start, and I think when we made that move at the deadline, sending Carter Jr. Over to the Magic for him and Aminu, we Bulls fans were kind of like, oh, we're so back. We're in the playoffs. Like, here it is. And then it was just really a lot of underwhelming performances. So everybody talks about him as one of the better centers in the league, one of the better bigs in the leagues. I think this year he's going to have to prove it, and the Bulls are going to have to be competitive, especially if they're making all these moves. But last year was a little bit of a slow start, but he did have some very good games in a Bulls uniform.
What about the development of I still don't fully think you have the money to pay a Markkanen now with all these new deals coming in, an extension coming for Zach LaVine. I do think Williams will be your starting 4. Where did you see his growth really in his rookie season?
Man, the Bulls take him at number 4. He kind of rose up the draft boards, kind of came out of nowhere, a classic Bulls pick where everybody's kind of like, who? But you knew coming in, he's not going to be the best offensively, but he's going to do all the little things. So what I really enjoyed watching about him was just his hustle, how he dove for rebounds, how hard he played defense. And then the scoring will come. The scoring will come because he's long, he's athletic. He is he is what basketball is becoming. You want those long, lanky, athletic guys that you can put at the 1 through 5 position, where the positionless basketball, as everybody says, is happening now. But my favorite growth thing about him was just watching him really become a pro and learn like how hard you have to play, diving on the floor, and grabbing those rebounds and just being a good teammate.
So how do you see this 5 together all meshing? Because again, there's only one basketball. You got 3 guys that average over 20 points per game. And now you've added another playmaker to take away from the guy who ran the offense last year in Zach LaVine.
Right. Well, the whole one ball argument, and then we talk about, they said that for, the Nets. They said that for all these super teams and shit. But Zach LaVine's the alpha. This is his team. That's why that's why they're making these moves to build around him. So these guys coming in, they're going to know that. I think if you need a late bucket, the ball's going to be in Zach LaVine's hands. So I think they'll know that coming in, but also LaVine has got to know what these guys bring and what they'll be able to help him with, where some nights he'll just be able to focus on scoring. He won't necessarily, have to worry about running the offense or distributing the ball. Lonzo can take care of that, or DeMar DeRozan can bring the ball up the floor as well. And then, he also can, like you said, 3 guys that average over 20 points. If he's having an off night, he can default to Vucevic a couple times. He can default to DeMar DeRozan. And then you just let Williams kind of learn from all these guys that have just been around, and let him kind of be the athletic guy that will go run and jump and make a play when you need it. So, yeah, I think LaVine's definitely going to be the alpha here. These other guys, I don't see when they make the move in the off season, and they'll be able to have like summer and get into practice and kind of establish themselves rather than making this move in the middle of the year. I think it bodes a lot better for the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have a pretty good head coach too. I'm a fan of Billy Donovan. He's been a solid coach everywhere he's gone. I think he should do a pretty decent job meshing this roster together. The Bulls are definitely one of the more interesting teams now. I think they're definitely a candidate for a team that didn't make the playoffs, having the chance to make it here in 2022. Let's look at the entire Eastern Conference, because a lot of people claim it's a lot better. The Bucks in your division just won the NBA championship. Nets, Sixers, Celtics, Knicks. List goes on and on. Where do you think the Bulls right now, and there's still some other moves that need to be made in free agency, but as it stands today, with Lonzo Ball, with DeMar DeRozan, where do you think this team ranks in the Eastern Conference?
I'd say as high as 4 and as low as 7. Like in that range.
Fair. I think your division helps your standings.
Absolutely. Because obviously we're in the same division as the Bucks. They're coming back with heat. They lost PJ Tucker, ironically, to the Heat, but Bobby Portis is back, Giannis is back, Drew, Chris Middleton. They're always going to be a tough out, but it's just the Bulls are going to be competitive. That is what they're going for. It's something that we haven't been able to say about the Bulls the past couple years. I think, we saw the New York Knicks this last year pull off a 4 seed. They didn't necessarily have the star power that the Chicago Bulls have brought in this offseason. Derrick Rose was great. Julius Randle had the best year of his career. Mm-hmm. But why couldn't that be Zach LaVine, Vucevic, DeMar DeRozan, and Lonzo Ball? So I think the Bulls, if at their best, the 4 seed, because I don't know that. Well, I guess it also depends on what does Philly do and how did the Celtics reload? So I guess if you're the Bulls, just making the playoffs would be happy. I think you're ecstatic if we get anything higher than if we get 5 or higher. Yeah,
if you guys can seed well, the one thing that helped the Hawks this year was they didn't have to play any of the top teams in the first round. Mm-hmm. If you guys seed well, I think this team absolutely has potential to win a series. If you play Brooklyn the first round, you're not going to advance.
Right.
But if you sit in that 4-5 spot, I think Atlanta's legit. Maybe if you get lucky with a Knicks, a Celtics, teams like that, man. This Bulls team is not a team that looks like you want to play in a series right now. I still don't know how they don't have that much playoff experience.
Yeah,
but this is absolutely one of the up and coming teams in the Eastern Conference.
they're up and coming, and they're going to have a lot to prove, and the expectations are going to be a lot higher than they have been in the last 5-10 years for this franchise. One guy we haven't mentioned for the Bulls who is kind of getting the shaft here, Kobe White.
Yeah, what happens with him?
I think he goes back to the 6-man role. I think if he's okay with it, because I think you could still easily get him 20, 25 minutes a game, and he can come off the bench. He can run the offense when Lonzo or Levine needs a break, and he can also score. He's an excellent 3-point shooter. Maybe he transitions into more of a 3-and-D type of guy, or that bench role, or they make a move for him, see how much, if they can get some draft capital for him, or maybe a younger prospect. I don't know. I thought we needed to go get another forward. I thought we needed to go get a solid 4-man, but I think Patrick Williams is that guy. And then if you can convince Lauri Markkanen to stick around and kind of buy in, because there have been, talks that Markkanen's been unhappy for the past couple of years. So that's going to be very interesting to see. That's the storyline, but I guess we're just loading up on defensive guards. So the second unit is something that's going to be very interesting to me, to who they're bringing off the bench after White, after Caruso. So I think there are still some pieces that the Bulls have to fill, but that starting 5, you can put that starting 5 up against just about anybody. I'm not saying they'll beat just about anybody, but they will give anybody in the NBA a solid game.
Well, I mean, if you're Markkanen, would you be happy knowing they acquired Vucevic and then spent a bunch of money this offseason on 2 guys in the starting lineup that isn't him?
Yeah.
I mean, that points every direction, like he's on his way out the door. Exactly.
And that's why I was fully expecting this DeRozan deal to include Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah, that's why I opened the show with it.
Yeah, I did not see Thad Young and Aminu being a part of this deal. So it's Thad Young, Aminu, a first and 2 seconds. So that is quite a haul for DeMar DeRozan. But you get out 2 guys that are on the other side of 30, like I mentioned earlier, and you're staying a little younger. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Free agency is not over. They still could make they could still make a few different moves. I wouldn't mind seeing Lauri Markkanen as a member of the Chicago Bulls this next season, though, because I feel like
addition to your starting lineup.
Yeah, because if you want to play Vooch in that pick and pop role, Lauri can do the exact same thing. So it just feels like the pick and roll game with both of those guys could be one of the best in the NBA next year if he's still around. But he can't feel good about all of this money being thrown around, not to him, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point by you.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Markkanen. He's one of the young up-and-coming 4s. I don't think he's going to be too cheap. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Bulls and Lauri Markkanen. So my final question, do you think you've done enough to recruit veteran free agents to accept a bench role to potentially win here? Or do you think there's way better options? Or do you just not see that happening with this team right now?
Yes, I do think they have. And I want to point to Lonzo signing within like the first 30 seconds of free agency. It was quick, and it means the perception on the Bulls has changed. It means that people actually want to play here. And I mean, plus Chicago is one of the most underrated cities like in the world. It's an incredible place to live. And just, I think, yes, because they could still, I think they still have the MLE, the mid-level exception, where they could bring on a veteran guy like that. I saw somebody on Twitter saying like Danny Green would be a great piece there.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. But I think they have, like, if you're an older fringe guy, you want to go to a competitive team, right? And the Bulls are proving that they're trying to win now. So I think they do. I think they have put some pieces together where a veteran guy might have his agent reach out to Chicago.
So, Andy, before I let you go, man, how can our listeners keep in touch with you on social media, follow all your pages, and check out your pretty awesome podcast?
Dude, first I want to say thank you so much for having me, Alec. This is awesome. I'm glad we could finally collaborate. I'd love to have you on the Brew Party. So yeah,
Oh,
I'm the
yeah.
host
Let me know.
I'm the host of the Brew Party Podcast. We are wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, all that good stuff. You can just go to www.thebrewparty.com. It has all of our social media links, links to listen to all of our episodes. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. youtube.com/the brew party. We post weekly episodes. We talk about sports. We have a good time, shoot the shit. This week I have an episode coming out with wide receiver Ronnie Jameson from New Mexico Highlands University. Former South Carolina commit. And then actually, speaking of the Bulls, staying on topic, I will be talking to Jason Patt, who blogs about the Bulls, later tonight. So that episode will be out on Thursday, just wherever you get your podcasts. And you can follow us on Twitter at The Brew Party. We're also on Instagram at The Brew Party. And then we're on Facebook at The Brew Party Podcast. So yeah, that's me. Try not to take myself too seriously. I'm just a dude from the middle of Illinois, spitting out hot takes and trying to have a good time and trying to enjoy my very shitty sports teams. So
awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining me on this show today. Best of luck to your Bulls, and you deserve to be excited, man. Adding Lonzo and DeRozan, those are two legit adds to a team that already had two All-Stars.
I love it. And I love the Bonnies flag behind
Hell
you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I bet on them this year in March Madness, and that didn't come through. So maybe next year. But
sorry
dude,
about that.
It's okay. It's all right, dude. Thank you so much for having me, Alec.
All right, well, that's going to be it for this episode of the Alec Walt Show. I'm Alec Walt alongside Andy Hopper. What do you think of the Chicago Bulls adding Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan? Feel free to comment that below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Down the Block Sports for more of my exclusive content. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you very soon.